Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. One of the authors I follow on social media was going to be launching her first self-published book, which was the first in a series. She invested a lot of energy and time and effort into making it the best possible. So applaud her for that. But as the book launch day was getting closer, she was asking, what do you do on book launch day? Is it a regular day? Do you have some sort of party or an event? Well, I'll be honest, I've never had a book launch party or event. Partly that's due to the fact that I write business nonfiction. I just want to make sure it's up on Amazon, and I'll post something on social media about it, but that's about it. However, for some people, it's a big deal. And especially if it's your first book, it's worth celebrating. So I'm not dissing a book launch day celebration. I just think you have to keep it in perspective. So let's talk about that. Is your book launch party going to be a celebration or a selling event? Here's where it gets kind of messy. Authors send out invitations, and this would be for in real life events. They send out invitations something like this: come and celebrate the launch of my new book or my first book or whatever it is. They give the time, 7 to 9 p.m. maybe, and then refreshments will be provided. Now here's what's going on in the invited guests' heads. I don't even read that type of book. I want to support her. She's a great friend, but what are we going to do there? Are we going to spend 2 excruciating hours telling her how great her new book is? Or will we have to listen to her reading the book? Who else is going to be there? Since it's after dinner, I'm guessing there's probably not going to be a lot of refreshments. So I'll probably have to eat before I go, and I don't even know if I want to go. Be very clear with yourself and your invited guests about what's going to happen at this book launch event. You have to give them a reason to attend other than to praise you for your accomplishment. And I have a story about a super awkward book launch party to illustrate. There was an author that I know who was doing a launch, and I thought, I'm just curious about this one. So I went. I overestimated the time it would take to get to the venue for the event. Now, the venue was one of those, what I call cute, hobby kind of bookstores where the owner just loves books, lots of kids' books, some New York Times bestsellers, no real depth in any genre. I got through the store in a couple of minutes, just to give you an idea. But I was glad I got there early because the author had just arrived. She was bringing in boxes of her books to the bookstore. Uh-oh. That means the bookstore isn't carrying her book. So why did she choose to host her event there? I thought that was strange. And it didn't, in my very short, full tour of the bookstore, it didn't carry a lot of the books like the author wrote. The only thing I could figure was that the author wanted to give the impression that her book is now available in bookstores, physical brick and mortar bookstores. And if you've followed me for any length of time, you know that that is not a high probability for most self-published books. So then, as the setup is occurring, the author is chatting with the owner about how sales of the book are going to go. The owner didn't want to register the sales of the book on the cash register, so that confirmed what I had suspected. These books were only going to be on consignment for this bookstore, if they were even going to be there regularly at all. So there were a few refreshments out, and there were stacks of the author's books around the store and on the counter where all the refreshments were being served. So I had purchased a copy of the book from Amazon because I didn't know this event was going to occur. So I brought in my book to have it signed by the author. And it looked like there were a lot of people who were doing the same thing. The only thing I could figure is that some of them may have swiped a copy off of the counter, so the author would even be losing those sales. Oh, but this event gets so much better. So there was no real agenda on the invitation, and I got there early, and after about 30, 45 minutes of mingling with 20 to 30 random friends and family of the author, I was just getting exhausted. But it was announced that the author was going to speak, and I thought, well, I want to hear what she has to say. So we went into this other room of the bookstore. It wasn't technically part of the bookstore. I don't even remember at this point. It was just a blur. And so we were all sitting down, and then this presentation goes on forever. And how the room was situated, the author was speaking right by the exit door, so I couldn't even get out without being obvious. All I could think was, oh God, when is this going to end? Just a word to the wise. You have to think about how you want your guests to remember your book launch event and your book. Since the pandemic, virtual book launches, virtual book tours have become almost the norm. And I think that's a great move. I'm really surprised that traditional publishers didn't jump on this bandwagon in a big way earlier. Now it's like, oh, now we're doing virtual book tours. It's always been there. Why didn't you start using them? And actually, they do work out kind of good. And for self-published authors, you don't have a publisher footing the bill and promoting it and everything, but you can still do something similar. You could have one of your friends, maybe an author in your genre or someone who's a recognizable figure with your reading audience, and you could have them interview you on a Zoom call, record it, and then you have a shiny new piece of content to share with your readers on book launch day. So it's the virtual book launch without a lot of stress. You have to realize, though, that even if you host this Zoom interview live, you're probably not going to get a lot of people on live, simply because people these days are so overwhelmed with so much going on video chatting, school, work, family, friends. They just get exhausted. So definitely record it so that they can listen and watch the replay. You may also get some invitations from podcast hosts in your genre, and you can reach out to them as well if you think that it's a good fit. Now, you have to remember, as a good podcast guest, that this isn't just a self-promo. You have to offer some value to the readers. How did you come up with this book? What are some issues related to the topic or genre that you can talk about? Always provide value. And one thing you might want to do, and sometimes I got to admit that I haven't done this as much as I should either, is create a little video book trailer. Just a couple of minutes of what the book is about, how you came up with it, what value it provides. Well, that will live on YouTube, and then you can just share that on social media. But I want to give you an idea that you may not have thought about. On book launch day, it's usually the culmination of months, weeks, maybe even years of work on your part. Why not just take the day to chill and relax? Get yourself some special treat and mark and savor the moment. Get some rest. Maybe buy dinner for the closest family and friends who have supported you through this project. Take a break because you've got more work coming ahead. Here's what book launch day really is. Whether you have an official celebration or not, your book launch day is really your first day on the job as self-published author. Yes, it's a job. You may write more books in the future, but the writing isn't the main focus from here forward. You are now in the author and publisher business. You'll be spending your days looking for ways to get your books and your other content in the hearts, heads, and hands of your potential readers. And that usually means time on social media. You'll also be creating fresh, non-book content to share with your readers. And of course, you'll be tracking your sales, watching how the marketing is going, making adjustments constantly, and that you'll be doing at least once a week. So you have a whole new job and career after book launch day. Now, if you find this unsettling, I understand. Just keep writing and publishing and no one will care. But if your intent is to get your message or your story out into the world and also to make money, this is your new job. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you did, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast platform you like to use. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Podbean, and Amazon TuneIn Radio. If you like the video better, you just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel, turn on the notifications so that you get an alert when a new video is available. I would appreciate it if you would share the podcast or the video with your friends on social media. And if you want to see my self-published books, which don't have a lot of book launch fanfare, never did, they're on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. You just have to search for my name, Heidi Thorne, go to my author page, and all the books that I have published are listed there. If you want to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. In the meantime, have a great day.